The world's it's a weird place, you know. I just believe that, you know, I believe in karma, I believe in fate, I believe in things happen for a reason.
Chris Moneymaker, a statistical improbability to win this title at the outset, is now closing in on making it an incredible reality.
You know, I have no idea why I got fortunate enough to win the World Series and be blessed with a really cool last name. And, you know, you have to be in the right spot at the right time. The right situation develops and, you know, changes your life. You know, won the World Series of Poker. Whee!
Quiet neighborhood just outside Memphis, Tennessee, there lives a peaceful family man. Years ago, he was dealt a miraculous string of cards, and the game of poker was changed forever.
I love Chris Moneymaker. I mean, what he did for our game was incredible.
He built up the modern age of poker. I mean, his story is what inspired so many people to join. I mean, Chris Moneymaker has just had an impact on everybody in the modern poker world.
He was probably one of the single biggest things that have impacted poker.
Yeah, he was in the right place at the right time for a perfect series of outcomes.
Thank God.
And really represented the common man to go on and win the biggest tournament in the world. It's a huge, huge deal.
This is beyond fairy tale. It's inconceivable.
It changed poker forever. Aside from the fact that his real name is actually Chris Moneymaker, like, we can't make that up.
His win set off a firestorm that, you know, grew the game tremendously.
I think he's been a great ambassador for the game.
Chris is a good old boy. Good old boy.
A lot of us in this game owe our careers to him.
Without Chris, who knows? We probably all would not be here today. You guys would probably be working for the Food Network or something. Yeah.
I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. My dad gambled all the time. He played blackjack. He just taught me, you know, when to hit, when to stay, when to split, how to count cards, but nothing as far as probably the most important part of actually managing your money. I mean, I remember he took me to his little gambling box that he had when I was probably like 13. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. He opens it up. To me, it was like seeing, you know, just like, oh, you know. And there's probably like 50 grand in cash in there. So I see all this cash in there, I'm just like, my mind's blown away. And now all of a sudden I think that, you know, we're the richest family, we're Bill Gates, and, you know, we're the richest family in the world. That definitely was one of the things that made me want to gamble more, was just seeing that much money was insane. Some people just have the gene, I don't know, and they do gambling gene.
Chris spent his youth chasing a case of money for his very own. But it wasn't until he left for college when that chase ended up consuming him.
Tennessee Ole Miss game, sophomore year of college. A fraternity brother of mine came down the hallway and he was talking like he had bet like $200 on the game. I was like, what do you mean bet on the game? I'd always just been a fan of the games. I always played the sports, but I never really thought to bet on the games. And I was like, yeah, give me 50 bucks on Tennessee. And Tennessee ended up winning by, I think the score was like 49-3 or something. It was like the easiest money ever. You know, I just went on a huge heater. I made probably like 60 grand in the first, you know, year and a half of sports betting. Basically, my day was get drunk, wake up around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, bet the games at night, drink and watch the games, go out to the clubs, pass out and wake up again at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, just rinse and repeat. I went from like a 4.0 GPA down to like a 0.5.
Sports betting goes hand in hand with high-limit poker. You can either manage it or it can get out of control. I've certainly been on both sides of the fence myself with these things.
You know, you start out betting 500 a game, and then 1,000, 2,000 a game, and then when I came into money, I'm betting 50 and 100,000 a game, and even 200,000 a game. And it was very sad, and it's sick, and it's, you know, it's addictive.
Chris's sports betting climbed higher and higher when suddenly everything came crashing down.
I blew the whole 60 grand on 4 games. I had to call my dad and tell him, you know, the accounts are empty. And that was just not a fun phone call. Once you blow that much money at that age, it's either going to serve as a wake up or it's going to destroy you, one of the two. And luckily for me, it really woke me up. And actually, I think it's one of the best weekends of my life from a life standpoint. That was definitely, you know, the moment where I realized I got to start changing things and do things differently.
Chris sobered up, eventually finished college, and earned a master's degree in accounting. He got married, landed a good job as a traveling accountant, and had a baby on the way.
Everything is going perfect. I'm on the career path. You know, I'm playing poker here and there, but I'm not playing a ton. And then September 11th happens.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack.
Airline traffic stops, and we aren't traveling out to go see clients like we once were. And all of a sudden, I was unemployed and started playing poker online a little bit more, I don't want to say professionally, but to make ends meet. Credit cards had piled up, and I was driving my grandfather's old car that I bought for like $1,500, and it was tough.
After months of searching, Chris finally landed another accounting job. But the pay wasn't great, and he was already in a financial hole.
Looking for the job, we had basically lost all of our money, and I wasn't the best husband. Probably wasn't the best dad, had a lot of stress. I would go to work, I would come home, get on the internet and play poker. And that's what I did for several years. It was a tough time.
April 2003. One night after work, Chris sat down at his computer and logged into his favorite online poker site, PokerStars.com. A poker tournament was starting. It cost $39 to enter.
I remember I just clicked on a thing because there's one player left, and I just jumped into it. This particular one ended up being a satellite for the World Series. I thought it was for cash. If I'd known it was a satellite, I never would have played it. We wouldn't be having this conversation. I would be an accountant somewhere.
One Saturday in April 2003, Chris Moneymaker sat down at his computer to play an online poker tournament. The tournament gave amateur players a chance to win a seat at the 2003 World Series of Poker in Las Vegas. But Chris didn't want to go.
They gave away 3 seats to the main event, and in 4th place was $8,000 in cash.
Chris is thinking to himself, well, I've never played live poker. I don't want the seat. I want the cash.
If I can get that $8,000, I can get credit cards paid off. I can get my head back above water. My friend Bruce like, man, what are you doing? You can go play the World Series of Poker. It's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You know, you can be on TV. I'm like, yeah, whatever, man.
Even though Chris was trying to come in 4th place, he ended up coming in 1st.
As it works out, he gets the seat. So Chris now has this $10,000 seat that he doesn't really want. So he taps his old man on the shoulder and his best friend, and they collectively buy 50% of him. So now he gets to pocket $5,000, right? Which now he's feeling better about himself.
So I go into the office the next day and say, hey guys, you know, I need vacation time. So they gave me the week off to go play the tournament. I was hyped to go, but at the same time, I knew I was going to get crushed, and I just want to make it through day 1.
So he gave himself no shot of winning the World Series. I love this. Every time I tell this story, I get so excited.
I'd never played in a live tournament before. Back then, I only knew 3 poker players. I knew Phil Hellmuth, Doyle Brunson, and Johnny Chan.
When Chris Moneymaker walked in the first day, we wouldn't have known who he was. For Chris, or anybody who comes for the first time, especially then when it was mostly pros and not that many amateurs, it had to be incredibly intimidating for Chris Moneymaker.
I'm an hour early to the tournament, which just never happens. No poker players up at 11 o'clock in the morning for a 12 o'clock tournament, but I'm there.
I mean, he must have been just sweating and shaking to death like the whole time.
Yeah, we start playing, and honestly, I don't think I'll play a hand for like the first 2 hours. I'd calculated down to like if I folded the entire day, didn't play a single hand, I could make day 2. But then when I had big hands, I'd flop, you know, a set. I'd get it all in, and it would hold, and I end up with 60,000. So I get out of the day with 60 grand. I'm like, I can cash, and cashing was like 17 grand. That was life-changing.
I worked at Binion's Horseshoe, and the end of the first day we have all these players, Doyle Brunson and Johnny Chan and Blanc, you know, all these players we know. All of a sudden I see this slip and it says Chris Moneymaker. And I thought, what, who is this? Moneymaker sounds like one of those, you know, a nickname.
And I thought to myself, my God, they've given the guy a fake name. We've gone WWF on this.
And I go over and tap on his shoulder. I said, can you at least write your full name on the slip?
No, Moneymaker, you know, Moneymaker was my grandfather's name, it was my father's name, it's my name. My last name, he took out his driver's license, my name's Moneymaker. We could have made up a better name.
You couldn't have written a better script for poker history.
Chris had passed his first crucial test in the biggest tournament in the world. He survived day one.
The handler for Poker Stars, by a guy by the name of Dan Goldman, he told me after the day of day one, it's like, yeah, you had a good day. People have good day ones. Don't get too excited. Basically, was his advice. You know, day two, I sleep in. So I wake up in a panic. I don't take a shower. I just throw clothes on, run downstairs, and hey, you know, I'm sorry I'm late. You know, what can I do? I want to play. I didn't know any better. I didn't know you could show up late. You know, your seat's right there, sir. Go ahead.
Despite the bad start, Chris survived day two as well, along with pros like Johnny Chan, Phil Ivey, and Howard Lederer. At this point, he was almost guaranteed to finish in the money, and he was on top of the world.
I'm hot hog, you know, I'm gonna cash this thing. I think I'm a pro now.
Chris didn't know it yet, but his date with destiny was about to go right through a poker legend.
We go to day three, and I go and I show up on time. I'm a good boy, I get there on time, and I see that Johnny Chan is two to my left. And all of a sudden, like, the fear of God just takes over. I'm like, oh, just stay out of his way. Just don't get into a war with him. I'm so stinking nervous. He's the perfect player. He's Johnny Chan.
At the start of day three of the 2003 World Series of Poker, no one had expected an amateur accountant from Tennessee to still be in the game. Least of all, the amateur accountant from Tennessee.
Back then, we had to wear a patch. Because I qualified on Poker Stars, so I had to wear a patch. Well, back then, if you're wearing a patch, you suck.
With nerves running high, Chris finally found himself in a poker hand with legendary player Johnny Chan. He froze.
Everyone thought that he was in deep thought, and then finally, I think Johnny says to him, you know, it's your turn, Chris. And he was in horror, he was in shock.
It was up to you, right?
Didn't even know I had a hand. I'm sorry. I didn't even look down.
I get all red-faced. I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe I did this on TV. You know, I'm gonna look like the biggest moron ever.
Yeah, we have to thank Johnny Chan. We might have been here all night.
Fast forward about 2 hours later, I'm all in against Johnny Chan.
Come on.
So there you have it. Chris Moneymaker laying down the challenge to Johnny Chan.
I mean, I'm like, wow, I need to get lucky here. I have to catch a heart. I mean, it's like, or I'm dead. We flip our hands up, and I'm like, holy cow, I got him crushed.
Oh, yeah, man, in bad shape.
Chris Moneymaker with the ace-high flush takes down Johnny Chan.
Wow, this is like Buster Douglas knocking out Mike Tyson.
I just eliminated Johnny Chan, and I went from a scared little boy to like, I'm a pro again. I'm like the best player in the tournament again.
He made moves that were way above his pay grade. Let's be honest, like way above.
Chris had those innate abilities to read his opponent, and he had the guts to go with that read and take the risk.
I'm like, okay, these guys aren't that much better than me. I can hang with these guys. Yeah, I just beat the best player in the world. I mean, I can do this. I had a lot of chips. I mean, you know, I knew I was gonna get out of there with like $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, and that's like seeing my dad's box. I mean, it's more money than I thought I would ever have, and that's a year's worth of salary.
When Chris Moneymaker strolled into Binion's casino on day 4, Lady Luck was on his arm.
Mr. Moneymaker has been walking between raindrops all day, but right now he's up against aces. That's a storm. Chris was in for most of his stack, and he got caught here in a very bad situation, and he only had 2 outs, and I figured this was it for Chris.
In my poker knowledge back then, I still had lots of outs. I had 2 8s. And I don't lose.
We got the turn, and it's an 8, a plus.
And now another stunning knockout for Moneymaker against Umberto Brenes.
Think around the turn, just like, oh, this is the way it's supposed to be.
In poker, a lot of it is putting yourself in a position to win and then needing a little luck to take you over the top.
We got down to 10-handed at the 2003 World Series. Phil Ivey actually was probably the biggest name left.
And he sits down, and he doesn't know that I'm about ready to clean his clock.
An ace!
An incredible knockout blow.
He wasn't Phil Ivey back then. He was just Phil Ivey.
My goodness.
Who is this young man?
Obviously, he was lucky in certain spots, but he had just the right mix of aggression and unpredictability, where his opponents didn't really know what he was doing.
We get down to 3-handed, and it's me, Sam, and Dan Harrington. I just got some kind of random weird energy and just started raising every hand. And it didn't matter what I held, I just played it aggressively.
You know, a lot of poker is about believing in your read, and Chris did it in the most important event of his life.
When we got down to Sammy FARHA and Chris Moneymaker, FARHA is this, he's like out of central casting for what a poker player should look like. He has the unlit cigarette in his mouth, the Bogart look. He looks like a poker player. On the other hand, the guy's a 27-year-old accountant.
Nerves are just shot. I'm just playing by the seat of my pants. I'm playing by feel. And I was drinking Red Bull like it was water. Got down heads up against Sam, and immediately I'm like, hey, you want to chop this up? I'm ready to take 1.8 million and go to the house. We went to the restroom to discuss the deal. His response was, I've got experience. I think I should get a little more. I'm like, wow, this guy really does not respect my game at all. Doesn't respect, anything I've done so far. He thought that little of me that, he wanted more money. I think my exact response was, F you, let's play.
When Chris Moneymaker sat down to play Sam FARHA heads up for the 2003 World Series of Poker Championship, he decided to go for broke.
Come on,
Chris Moneymaker going all in with nothing.
Well, I think my favorite moment was just, him heads up against Sammy FARHA and having an opportunity to run a huge bluff that takes a lot of guts and to actually pull the trigger and do it.
He makes this bluff and he puts chips out there where, if Sam calls, he wins.
That was definitely one of my first poker memories and probably one of my first times watching poker. And I just remember thinking it was so cool that he could win the hand without, having the best hand.
I'd already made my mind up. It was going in. I'm gonna crush him.
I called it at the time the bluff of the century, which might be an overstatement. Plus, it was early in the century. If not the bluff of the century, certainly, the bluff of the day.
The very next hand came up, and I knew if I caught a hand in the next 4 or 5, he'd be able to tilt.
Sam FARHA looks at a Jack-10.
Well, in that final hand, the flop was Jack 5-4, giving Sammy FARHA a pair of jacks, which is huge.
I knew I had him right when he moved. He said, all right, let's get it all in. I was really confident I had the best hand at that point.
Chris and his father are very close. Father comes out there and they're hugging. And Sammy's just sitting there. I think the unlit cigarette, still dangling in his mouth. And I always remember that Sammy's just standing there next to father and son. And I know running through Sammy's head is, I can't believe I lost this job.
What people don't know is what happened afterwards.
I had to go write my dad a $500,000 check, and this guy, Dave Gamble, a $500,000 check.
The taxman takes another 30%, 40%. He's left with about $800,000 from the $2.5 million. Now, PokerStars comes knocking on the door and says, you're a world champion, poker's gone through the roof. We want to sign you up. We want you to travel. His wife now says, I'm not having this.
She didn't want to be with someone that was traveling. She made that abundantly clear in the past.
They file for divorce. She says to him, I want half of what you have and half of all your revenue for the rest of your life. No. I have $800,000 in the bank. You can have all of that and you get nothing of any future revenue that I make.
I gave it all away. But, In my eyes, I went to my daughter, so, you know, she was taken care of.
And the moral of the story is he didn't get 1 cent from his $2.5 million.
Yeah, I was broke in 04.
Chris has since remarried and settled back in his home state of Tennessee. When he's not traveling the world telling his story, he's a devoted husband and father.
The accountant named Moneymaker turning a $40 online seat into $2.5 million, that was lightning in a bottle.
And the next year we saw numbers increase massively, I think threefold.
Chris Moneymaker has just had an impact on everybody in the modern poker world.
He started making me think about poker as a viable career for me.
Chris Moneymaker is partially why I got into poker.
It was a big inspiration. If this guy who has so little experience can do it, then maybe I can too.
When he won the World Series of Poker Main Event, it was as if, you know, dreams really can come true.
He's a great ambassador for the game. Like whenever he's at the tables, he's engaging with people, he's interacting with them, he's making sure they have a good time.
Most world champions don't do that kind of thing, and so I salute him for that.
Think about a world where Sam Farha had won the World Series and not Chris Moneymaker. We wouldn't be here right now. I promise you that much.
My story gave hope to everybody else that if I can do it, they can do it. It's, again, it's incomprehensible, the things that had to line up for me to be sitting here with you today. Things happen for weird reasons. I don't know why they happen, but I'm just fortunate and glad that they happened to me.